I wrote a book. And why should you care? Well, the story of Tito is something I think everybody can relate to, but more importantly, it's something you can enjoy. See, Tito is a basketball player, and he has a skill problem. He's not good at free throws. And we've seen that at every level, from the littlest kids to the biggest center in the NBA. Free throws are hard. So why can't Tito shoot a free throw? Well, Tito didn't grow up in an environment where free throws were important. He didn't grow up on the AAU circuit. He wasn't even really playing rec ball. He was playing at the park and then eventually against adults at the rec center before they recruited him into school ball. And I don't know if you've played at the park or you've played at the rec center, but no blood, no foul, and certainly no foul shots. So here's Tito, a solid contributor on a team with dreams of winning state, and he can't hit a foul shot. And you know who knows that? Everybody. So he goes to the line, and when he does, the crowd digs in. Oh, no, Tito! Oh, no, Tito! Oh, no, Tito! And he can't make the shot. Never makes the shot. He knows he's not going to make the shot. His teammates know he's not going to make the shot. His coaches know Tito's not going to make the shot. And the crowd, they celebrate Tito not making the shot. Will he get over it? Will he get past it? Will he develop into a shooter who can get it done? Gonna have to read to find out. No, that's the wrong side. Gonna have to read to find out. But it's more than just Tito. This book, when I wrote this, Tito is just a character. And what he does is he introduces you to the world of cross county schools. Some middle school stories, some high school stories. But Tito's just a high school basketball player. And there's a lot of other guys out there. I mean, he's not even the best player on his team. There's a kid named Marcus who's a ticking time bomb. And Marcus, that boy's got skills. He is bound to play in college if he can survive high school. And it's not all guy characters. You know, there's Chloe, who is the Marcus of the girls' team, I think. She's kind of mean. And then there's Belle and there's Nia. And there's always the other guys too. I mean, you don't play basketball alone. They got a young upstart named David. And I mean, Smitty, man, that kid can't catch a break. And honestly, I don't think he wants to help himself catch one. But all of that starts here. It starts with Tito. And I've got all these stories I want to tell you, and I'm writing all these different storyboards and books, and they're all coming as part of the CCS Stories series. But to really understand it, you've got to look at it through Big Mike's lens as he's taking pictures of Tito and the rest getting started and the various coaches and personalities that are going to show up. And you know, it's a journey. It's a journey. And I hope that you can enjoy it with me. So I have opened to a random page, and this actually is a random page. This is 47, which is the start of chapter 5, or possibly it's 46, the end of chapter 4, but we'll go with the start of chapter 5. Chapter 5 is David and the Mid-Season Reckoning. January settled into a rhythm that felt sustainable, but it didn't quite stay that way. Cross County won 2 in a row. First, a home game against Fairfield. That was closer than it should have been, but then the road game against Lincoln, that was a blowout from tip-off. Lincoln, well, they're in a rebuilding year, and Marcus, he was unstoppable in the third quarter. Tito shot 5 for 10 from the line across those 2 games, which was down from his practice sessions, but up from where he'd been. Davis, by the way, is the coach, said nothing about it, which was in its own form a signal. Then came the Riverside game, a divisional game in late January on a neutral court used for split venue scheduling. And Tito went to the line 6 times, making 4. That was 66%, the best game performance of his career from the stripe in a game they won by 11. He didn't tell anyone the number, he noted it privately. After the Riverside game, David Green found him in the locker room, not in the pointed way that adults do when they want to mark something, just in an ambient way of a player who was doing his own post game processing and happened to end up in the same place. David was in his JV gear. He'd been dressing for varsity, but mostly getting his minutes in JV games, which was the sophomore experience in a well stocked program. Not that it stopped people from asking if he was mad about being stuck on JV. He handled it in the way he handled most things, quietly, without complaint, and with the patience of, I don't have my book memorized, someone who understood that time was coming and he was arriving at it. Whoop, boy, you would think I'd be able to read my own book without skipping words, but sometimes I get excited. Okay. We'll just roll back just a little bit here. He handled it in the way he handled most things, quietly, without complaint, with the patience of someone who understood that his time was coming and that arriving at it prematurely would cost him more than waiting. You went 4 of 6, he said. Yeah, Tito said. David nodded. He pulled off his warm-up top. I'm working on a thing in baseball, he said. Keep balance through my rear hip drive. My leg collapses sometimes in the same way. Tito looked at him. When the at-bat matters, David continued, I change something. Change something in my load. I get early. I compensate. The swing changes. He folded the warm-up top with the precise care of someone who took equipment seriously. It goes away in practice. What do you do about it? I found a cue, David said. My hitting coach. Something simple I can run before. Something simple that I can run before each pitch. Short enough that it doesn't take over. He casually tapped his hip just above the quad before tossing his shooting shirt in the bag. 4 for 6 is good. He walked towards the showers. Tito sat with that for a moment. The sophomore walk away. The clean, unsolicited parallel. The complete absence of anything performative about it. David Green was going to be something. Whatever Cross County's program looked like in 2 years, there was a foundation being laid in that kid, and it was being laid quietly. Tito pulled Steve. You know what? This just goes to show you sometimes you should practice first. Smitty pulled Tito aside in the hallway between the second and third period on a Tuesday in late January. Davis moved me, he said. Tito waited. From the 3 to the 2, effective next game. He said it with a flatness that had the sound of a practiced neutrality, the kind you develop when you've delivered the same kind of news to yourself multiple times. He says the scheme is shifting for the stretch run. Does he need a 2? He needs someone at the 2 who can check their best guard, which I can. Smitty leaned against the locker. That's the thing, I can do it. I can do it well. That's never the question. He looked at the ceiling for a moment. The question is, when does somebody say, here's your spot, settle in. Let's see what you become from this one place. Tito didn't have a useful answer to that. Smitty wasn't asking for one. I was a quarterback. They turned me into a linebacker. A shooting guard. They turned me into a 4. Then a 3. Now a 2. I used to score. Now they want defense. I was a shortstop. They turned me into a catcher. Kinda. Smitty said, I don't even know anymore what I look like in the position I'd choose. What would you choose? Smitty looked at him. The answer was on his face before he said it. Point. Always. I see the floor from there. I always have. He pushed off the locker and went to class. Tito watched him go, thinking about the particular weight of being good enough at everything to be useful everywhere, and not quite right enough in any one place to be given the chance to be great. Smitty smiled at people in the hallway as he passed. He said something that made a sophomore laugh. He moved through the school like someone who had learned to be fine. The smile, Tito thought, wasn't fake, but it wasn't doing work. All right, so that's a couple of pages from the book. And it talks a little bit about a few of the characters. David, a young up-and-comer, is trying to overcome adversity and holes in his game. Talked about Smitty, who, man, that kid, I'm telling you, every sport, every time, coaches just they don't know what to do with him, and he doesn't know how to advocate for himself. And then there's Tito, the central figure in this book. And he's got to balance all of this, the school pressure, the teammates, what they've got going on in their lives, because you don't live alone in the world. In fact, your problems aren't the only thing you deal with. He's going to think about Smitty's issues. And he's got to adjust now that he's not playing the position that Tito's used to Smitty playing. And, he's got to look over his shoulder, as David's playtime increases, whose playtime is going to decrease? And of course, he's got to go to class. And then there's girls. High school's complicated. High school sports are complicated. And what's funny for Tito is what it all boils down to. He's a great shooter, tremendous from the three-point line. But from 15 feet away from the rim, his whole world caves in on him. All those pressures, they're all right there on his shoulder. They're right there in his ears. He can't get away from it. And here he is. He's a 30% shooter from the foul line, from the stripe, when he's crushing it from the three-point line. There's something else going on there with Tito. And there's something else going on there at CCS. And he needs to be taught those skills. He needs to learn how to shoot the foul shots. But he's also going to have to learn how to cope with just being a high school kid. So check it out. Oh No Tito. I wrote it. It's real. It's not perfect. I didn't read it perfectly either. And I know if you're really good at English, you're going to go through here and you're going to find mistakes. I know they're in there. But I did my best to tell a story that I hope is compelling and that will entertain you. And if it accidentally teaches you something, that's cool too. I'm Eric Batchelor. This is Oh No Tito. 15 feet between who you were and who you are. Check it out on Amazon.